To be honest, I don't think I've done that before joining Amazon. Hey y'all, this is Young from Career School. So I get a lot of questions about leadership principle. They ask me if we really use it during our day-to-day life, and also how to prepare for interviews with Amazon, as leadership principle is the fundamental of all the questions we have for candidates. So as a lot of Amazonians probably told you, we live and breathe on 14 leadership principles when we are working here at the company. I was pretty suspicious before joining. I thought Amazonians wouldn't really use the 14 leadership principles when we are actually working. And I was completely wrong. I was very surprised from day one, as leadership principles kind of dictates everything what we do here and is a very good guide for how we do business and how we make decisions. I love the idea, and I think it's super efficient and effective. It's basically that we have a guideline to follow when we do make decisions, and these decisions are based on who we are and how the company is established. So I think it's a really efficient and effective way to kind of control this massive company with hundreds of thousands of employees in it. So in this video series, I'm going to be talking about leadership principles. Understanding 14 leadership principles is not only a way to crack your Amazon interview, but it's a great way to understand the company and the culture and how we do work here day to day. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a leadership principle and how I understand them, how it impacts or influences my day-to-day life, and some sample questions and how I answered them when I was interviewing about a year ago. So today's leadership principle is customer obsession, one of my favorite ones among those 14 leadership principles. So let's check out the leadership principle first. Leaders start with the customer and work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust. Although leaders pay attention to competitors, they obsess over customers. Customer obsession is probably one of the most important leadership principles we have here at Amazon. We do bring up this LP a lot during our meetings. And also, I'm pretty sure we asked these questions during our interviews with the candidates. And you probably have heard about this, but our mission was to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. Having customer all around in mission and leadership principle, and of course, being on the front as #1 leadership principle, it gives you a glimpse of how important it is and like how we embrace it here at Amazon. Yeah. So let me give you a very short example of what this leadership principle might actually mean. Before joining Amazon, someone told me that customer obsession is something like, even if we do not have a book to provide it to the customer, we would buy from another company and still provide it to the customer. Meaning we might not make money right now, but we would buy the customer trust. So that's how I took it, and kind of understanding it from my perspective was more like you delight the customer even though they are not really your specific work or your specific job to deliver something or provide something. That was how I kind of interpreted. So that's how I crafted my story when I was interviewing. I would love to talk a little bit about how this principle is impacting my life. This leadership principle, as I told you, is on top of our list, meaning that it's probably one of the most important ones. And having it on top of the list kind of makes me think about whenever I do something, is this customer obsessed? Is this customer centric? Is what I ask myself. First sentence of the leadership principle, it says, leaders start with the customer and work backwards. To be honest, I don't think I've done that before joining Amazon. I've always been just doing work. And I think I've always been trying to do what's best for the company, but not really thinking about the customer experience. But I think it makes total sense to kind of work backwards from the customer and, thinking about what their experience might be, and then work backwards to what am I supposed to do to delight them, was something that kind of impacted me. It also influenced me to think more in a customer-centric way. And the other thing is that I've been always working in a company which is a fast follower. For example, Pantag or Huawei, they were not the ones which were known for the most innovative products. They were obsessed with the competitors rather than the customer. So I think this kind of mind shift of competing with competitors to thinking about how we can delight customer provides me a very different perspective in how I do work. And I really like what I do now, because I think this is the way that we should all kind of look into our work in order to provide a much better value to the people out there. So let's go over some sample questions I found here on Google. This is a website I found. It's called Interview Genie, and you can just come in and check out the questions here, but you will be able to find a lot of publicly available interview questions regarding customer obsession. So some sample questions here on Interview Genie can be: when you're working with a large number of customers, it's tricky to deliver excellent service to all of them. How do you prioritize different customer needs? Tell me about a time you handled a difficult customer. What did you do? How did you manage the customer? What was his reaction? What was the outcome? Most of us at one time have felt frustrated or impatient when dealing with customers. Can you tell me about a time when you felt this way and how you dealt with it? There are a lot of questions out there, so I would really strongly encourage you to check out and search for these questions in Google, and you will see a lot of them. On the next stage, on how to properly answer these questions, you should use the STAR format, which is basically situation, task, action, and result. And I kind of want to add on a small L there at the end. So it becomes a STAR L. L meaning learning. So what have you learned from that story or that anecdote? So let me give you an example of what I have prepared for my customer obsession story about a year ago. I was basically trying to provide an answer which I was not 100% responsible for, but I did it anyway to provide the best customer experience to my client, was the underlying story of my anecdote. The situation is in 2015, LG Plus, one of the biggest telcos in Korea, wanted to have a contract for LTE roaming with Vietnamese telco as Viettel launched their first LTE network. The person who was responsible for this, Mr. Park, didn't know where to start with it. So he just kind of, told me that he wanted to reach out to someone there, but didn't really have any connection. It was not my responsibility to help him. And also, he did not really ask for help to me. It was just more like in one of those kind of drinking sessions, he just, kind of tells me that what he has to do next, but I just kind of decided to help him. On the action stage, I just kind of break it down into, I lived in very different countries growing up, so I kind of checked out my personal contacts. If I have anyone I know work in Vietnam, and then I also kind of checked with people at Huawei Vietnam office to see if they have any contacts there, knowing anyone in Viettel, because obviously Huawei is a big ICT company and we do business all around the world, and Viettel obviously is one of our big customers in Vietnam. So I was able to kind of get in touch with this guy, Victor, in Vietnam too, and then he got me in touch with the other guy at Viettel who was responsible for that specific work. I kind of organized a meeting for Mr. Park, who was working in Korea in LGU Plus, to kind of work this whole roaming LTE business contract going on for him. And I personally helped him review the contract. I mean, I'm not in legal, but like I know English. So I was able to help him out with, viewing and drafting the contract and help him to get the final contract signed. As a result, LGU Plus and Viettel finally got a contract to have LTE roaming service in Vietnam for customers who are using LGU Plus whenever they travel to Vietnam. And then the result part is really interesting. What they basically needed for testing roaming was small LTE routers to test LTE roaming service in Vietnam using LGU Plus's SIM cards. So Huawei was able to provide some samples for them to test roaming in Vietnam. And at the end of the day, like I was able to kind of get a contract with LGU Plus to launch LTE router business in about a year after from that, when we did not even have started LTE router business in Korea. The story I was trying to tell was long-term thinking plus customer obsessed, because I was trying to help this guy solve his problem, which was not my responsibility, but I did it anyway to delight him and also provide him the best customer experience, right? So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope this really helped, and I'll be making a series of leadership principle type of content to provide you more explanation and how I interpret them day to day working here at Amazon. So thank you so much. Stay tuned and subscribe, like, and share with your friends, and also comment anything you want me to cover. Thank you again, and stay tuned for more videos.